Uh, Hello. I'm sick. I have been sick. I actually recorded a video talking about something. I don't even remember what, but I was so groggy and delirious that I watched it back and I realized that it didn't make any sense. So, not that most of these normally do. Most of these are pretty rambly, but at least that one was particularly so. So, uh, I'm still sick in my wizard's robe that I got for Christmas. It's one of these comfy things. The fleece lining's a little cheap, but it's comfy. Hence the name, I guess. Um, Also, I haven't been practicing my recorder, but I forgot I had this thing. Let me see if I still remember. Not bad. Not too bad. Not the worst. I should start playing. My goal with this recorder, I got this like a year ago. I haven't played it a whole lot, but my goal was to get the cheapest instrument I could find and do my best to get good enough with it that I could make such a cheap instrument sound good. I have a theory when it comes to instruments that if you can make a bad instrument sound good with your technique, then you deserve to get a better instrument. At least that's my own personal theory. Anyway, that is totally unrelated to what I was planning on talking about. I've been playing Stardew Valley a bit, a modded version of Stardew Valley because I'm a big nerd. And there's a mod a very popular mod called Ridgeside Village that you can get for Stardew Valley, and it adds a whole bunch of NPCs and a new village and stuff. It's not a perfectly made mod, but it's very impressive. And the first thing I noticed, and this is no hate to the developer, Concerned Ape. That's the developer who made I think his name's Eric or something, Eric Barlow, Eric something. The developer of Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is great. I have a lot of love for it. I have a lot of gripes with it, but I mostly like narrative things. But I have a lot of love for it too. But man, the spouses and the romantic interests and the friends that you can make in the Ridgeside Village mod are way more compelling, in my opinion, than the ones in the original Stardew Valley mod. When you interact with them side by side, the two villagers from the two different, the main game and then the mod, it's shocking actually how it's shocking. Ooh, I'm gonna flash the camera. There we go. I look like the glob go gab galab. It's shocking how much better I think at least the writing is in the mod. Anyway, I've been playing Stardew Valley, and I always like to try and romance someone different or get relationships with different people in Stardew Valley whenever I play it, because it's fun to try and see the different characters. And I personally don't like doing the Omni run where you like marry everybody. That's just not me personally. But something I was thinking about as I was playing and interacting with the characters and trying to further relationships with them, it just got me thinking about relationships in games in general, and games that let you explore romance in particular. And on a very different side of things, I've also been playing some Skyrim and have been consuming content around Skyrim and have just been thinking about the game Skyrim a lot. And I was thinking about the two of them as very different games. They're very different, so I'm not trying to compare them too much, but I was thinking about the different way they handle romances and the different way that games handle romances. In Stardew Valley, you have a bunch of scripted events around these particular characters that over the course of the game you grow to, you further your relationship with them, and then you can start dating them, and then you can marry them, and then eventually have like kids with them, and they move in and everything. But it has a bunch of scripted events, and I actually think I like the event system in Stardew Valley for the most part. I think it's a good way to have fun pivotal moments while still maintaining a sense of freedom in the game. A game like Dispatch, or any dating sim. Dispatch is not a dating sim, but it's a game I've played recently that has romance in it. A game like Dispatch is very linear. And so you're guided to these romances very railroaded. You're railroaded into these romance situations, and those ones are much more intimate, obviously, in some cases, literally. But Stardew has more of that RPG kind of feel to it. Despite the fact that I would not call Stardew Valley an RPG. No, I wouldn't. Skyrim, however, is an RPG. Skyrim's romance leaves a lot to be desired. I have such a love-hate relationship with Skyrim. I appreciate it so much, and yet, every time I play it, I cannot help but critique it endlessly. Because to be fair, it's 14 years old at this point. It's not like it's brand new, but I still just look at it and I love it and I hate it and I love it and I can't help but want it to be better in so many different ways. But the romance in particular in Skyrim is about as lacking as you can get. Oftentimes what ends up happening for the romance in Skyrim is you find an NPC, you do a quest associated with them, like one quest, then you put on an amulet that basically says that you're down to have babies, and then except for I don't even think you can have babies because you can only adopt in that game. You put on the amulet of Mara, I think, and then you go up to a lady or a guy that you're interested in, and there's only a few of them, and then they're like, oh, do you want to get freaky? And then you're like, all right, and then they move in, and then you hardly ever see them. Whenever you interact with them, they've got like 5 lines that they say. Sometimes they'll give you some pocket change. They'll be like, I've been working hard, here's $10, and then you have $10 to do nothing with. I'm being, I'm exaggerating, but that's the gist of it. And Skyrim is not a dating sim. Credit where credit is due. It's an action RPG about exploring and adventuring, and I wouldn't be surprised if the romance thing was a bit of an afterthought, or obviously there wasn't as much effort put into that as there was into everything else. But it made me bummed out because, man, I'm a sucker for a good romance in any game that I play. I love a good romance, whether it's a very linear romance, or whether it's a more RPG open-ended romance. You can kind of choose whatever, or something like The Witcher, where you have a couple options, a couple big options, and then a bunch of casual flings, or Dispatch, where you have a couple big options. I love a good romance in a video game, and I wonder. I have not played Baldur's Gate, 3. I have not played any Baldur's Gate, but I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. I know that Baldur's Gate 3 is this, and I'm not disagreeing, I just haven't played it yet, so I don't know. But everyone says it is this paragon of RPGs, and that the social interactions are outstanding, that the romances are really compelling, that it is a game that embraces the RPG, the role-playing game. That's cool. I do need to try that, and I really do want to play that and experience it. It's such a big game, and it's been so daunting, and I've had so many other games that I've been playing. And I'm only one man, and I have other things to do. I have a real life relationship I have to take care of first. But I just got thinking about romances and RPGs and Skyrim is mediocre, and Stardew Valley is fine in my opinion. The base game Stardew Valley, I think it is serviceable, but like a lot of romances in games, once you accomplish the romance, it tends to end there. And it has sometimes there's stuff that happens after you get married, but there's a reason that the romance movies, if you're watching like a rom-com, it always or tends to, not always, but tends to end right after they get together. You get the final kiss, right, and then credits roll. There's a reason that happens. It's because that's where the interest normally tends to taper off. People aren't as interested in general as the calm after the tension of, oh, are they gonna get together or not, or the excitement of the cat and mouse game that can be love. When that's over, it's not as exciting. I would love to see a game explore that. I would love to see a game that explores a bit more of the intimacies, the struggles, the ups, the downs of a relationship after it is a relationship. You have all that fun build-up. What if you could find a way to make the after just as fun? There's narrative games that I enjoy that I think do a good job with romance. You're gonna hear me gush about it all the time. I really love The Last of Us Part Two, and I love Ellie and Dina's relationship. And obviously, you see it kind of start, but most of the game plays out, and their relationship is already established. It's not a game that's focused on their romance, but it's there. I think that The Witcher did a really good job. The Witcher has the or The Witcher 3 in particular has the bonus of having already had these established characters. You know, when you meet Triss and Yennefer, you're not meeting them for the first time. You have history, and so that it's not so much the game of will she, won't she, will he, won't he. It's that is a little bit, but it goes a bit further than that, and I do appreciate that in The Witcher. But again, that's not what The Witcher's about, and I guess I'm just selfish. I have always wanted an RPG that was focused on the more mundane things, the RP, as it were. It's so easy, or it's not so easy. It's so common, and for a good reason, I think, that an RPG is, Skyrim. You're the Dragonborn, right? That's like there's a whole kind of RPG world around that, but at the end of the day, in Skyrim, you are the Dragonborn. There's the starting events, and that's an important through line through all of it. In Starfield, gosh, I don't like that game. I want to like it so bad, but I don't. In Starfield, you get the friggin', you get the god hand from the rock that you touch in the cave or whatever, and that influences the rest of the game. I personally would love an RPG that makes you a normal guy and where things are relatively normal. I think Stardew is nice in that sense because you are just a farmer. And so, it's more fun to explore the romance or the relationships and the mundane moments around that. But man, if we could, if there's one that exists, I guess that's just The Sims, but I don't know. The Sims leaves me feeling so hollow, and maybe because The Sims is so systematic that I have a hard time feeling like I can find any story in it. Trying to bridge that gap between systematic, something like The Sims, which is completely systematic, and then something like Dispatch, which is completely narrative, that's a hard gap to bridge. And I get it. As for game developers, it's crazy. You cannot account for every contingency. You cannot account for every variable and just have, narrative for everything. I hear that Baldur's Gate kind of does that a bit, and so I'm excited to try it out and see if it lives up to the hype, and I'm sure it will. I'm not. I think I'll really enjoy it regardless. I'm just a selfish gamer. I'm a gamer who wants the Omni game, right? And I know that's selfish. I know that's not reasonable. It's not feasible. But man, I'd love an RPG that truly was an RPG. An RPG that truly allowed me as the player to choose to be who I want, to pursue who I want, to marry who I want, to have kids with who I want, and for those things to be compelling all along the way. That's a tall order. I understand that. I'm not so naive to think, oh, why don't they just make that? Duh. Like, obviously, duh. It's not like that. And it's easy to just say, oh, I want this in an RPG. I personally have never been a fan of, you are the one hero type games. It's one of the reasons why to this day, Skyrim has been out for 14 years. I have never beaten the main quest. I've played, I don't even know how many hours, days in Skyrim. I have never beaten the main quest. Same with Oblivion, same with Morrowind. I have never liked being the guy who has all the power, the guy who, is the chosen one. Unless the game is just about that. That's a different thing. But like in RPGs, I've never cared for that. I like being the side character. I like just kind of doing my own thing. This is also a very rambling video. It's funny, I think my videos are just getting progressively longer. But I guess my thought that I've just been having in general is that the term RPG has been so loosely bloated and thrown around that I feel I have really struggled to find a game that I think is a proper, truly free RPG. And I wonder, perhaps a little cynically, if that can ever even exist. In a way that I think would be satisfying. I think I'm just needy, I guess. I'm a needy gamer. It's tricky. It's just tricky. Oh, I'm real curious. for anyone who played Dispatch, I loved that game. I really liked that game. For anyone who played Dispatch, I went after Blonde Blazer because I thought she was cool and really attractive and so earnest and sweet. I get that people think that Invisigal is hot. I totally get that. A little too much of a firecracker for me, or a firebrand, whatever the word is. A little too scary. Blonde Blazer felt a little more stable for me, for my personal taste. That's just me though. I loved Invisigal and super invested in her story, but Blonde Blazer, I thought she was the one I picked, and I felt like it was the one that I was going to stick with. I couldn't see myself like going back and playing through it again just to romance Invisigal. Anyway, and in Stardew, the first person I ever romanced, I played as a girl on my first run through. And I romanced Sebastian. Then second time I played as a guy and I romanced Abigail. And then I realized that I wanted to play it again, and I didn't find any of the other spouses compelling. So that's when I started modding the game. I was like, surely there have to be more. Anyway, romance, man, it's a crazy thing in games. It's crazy. I've never played a dating sim. Doki Doki Literature doesn't count, and neither does the Colonel Sanders one. I know like there's games like Date Everything. Maybe I should give one of those a try, and then I can kind of expound on my thoughts on romance in video games. I don't know, but I want to find a good game that has romance that is long and fulfilling and more meaningful in a longer way. But that remains to be seen. It's not that I don't think they're out there. I just haven't found it yet personally. So we'll see. If anyone has any recommendations for any games, I would always appreciate them. I love to hear anyone's thoughts. This was a very rambly one. I'm still a bit sick. I'm on meds. Not totally here. I didn't sleep much last night either, so I'm kind of, this is definitely a rambly one, but I guess that's just to be expected. No one's coming here to watch my streamlined, like highly edited, super quality scripted things. I just sit down and start yapping for 20 minutes. Anyway, this one is a bit rambly, but I would love to hear anyone's thoughts. Maybe I'll get better at the recorder and I'll showcase my incredible skills next time. But I'm gonna get back to playing Skyrim, and probably won't marry anybody because I don't find any of them interesting. And no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not a gooner. I'm not gonna download the what's her name. So okay, I'm being mean to anyone who likes this mod. It's not a bad mod. It's actually very good. With Sophia, she's that follower. She's always like number one on the Nexus mods. Anyway, I think the first time I played Skyrim, the lady I married was, her name starts with an M, I think, and she has the tattoo line. I think she's like a priestess. She might be in Morthal. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm gonna go eat lunch and drink water so that I don't pass out. Yep, that's it. Bye.